Lovebug. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. For anyone that's new here, my name is Mercy Yvonne, and this is a place where we love God, we love ourselves, and we love others. My channel is all about being the intersection between faith and fashion, so we're going to serve the Lord, but we're going to serve a look as well. And in today's video, we're doing something a little different. We're doing a story time. But I'm just going to put this disclaimer out here now. If you're looking for one of those like drama-filled, messy kind of story times, that ain't what you're gonna find here. It's more of like testimony service. Like God has really been reminding me of his goodness, of his faithfulness, of the ways in which he shows up and he shows out, like how he does not come to play about me. And I'm filming this on Friday, May 10th. And literally this morning, while just doing things around the house, God literally reminded me of this story and how he literally showed up. And I feel that it's beneficial to share this and to really just highlight the goodness of God when there is so much going on and there's so much negativity and there's so much frustration. I believe that it's important to just highlight the goodness of God and really just share his goodness. The Bible tells us that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb, by the word of our testimony. And I pray that this word encourages someone as it's encouraging me, even as I'm going through life now. Even just the memory encourages me. And so I just really want to share it. So go ahead, grab you a snack, sit back, relax, and let's chat, shall we? So the time was approximately May of 2018. I'm being silly, but seriously, on a serious note. And I graduated college May of 2018, and while finishing up my last semester, I had 2 internships. My degree was in criminal justice. I don't know if I've shared that here or not. I can't really remember. But my degree was in criminal justice. And so I had an internship with juvenile probation, and then I had an internship with a youth residential facility. And I had been doing both. And nearing the end of graduation, the residential youth facility was like, hey, you want a job? I was like, sure. Like an opportunity outside of college comes rare. Even semi anywhere near your field sometimes feels rare. And so I was like, I'm going to jump on the opportunity, right? And so graduated, took the job, had been doing the job. And so now we fast forward to about spring or early summer of 2019, and there was transitioning happening at the facility. And so my supervisor at the time was transitioning out of our facility. He was remaining within the organization, but he was going to another program within the organization. This transition created the opportunity for someone that was in our facility to kind of move up. And so it left their position vacant, and it was a counseling position. And so I decided to go for it, right? And did the interview, all that jazz, and get the news that I did not get the position. And it was disappointing. It was definitely sad and disheartening, because it was something that I desired. I love what I do here, but I wanted to move up and to grow. And it was kind of, just disheartening that I did not get it. And I was disappointed, but I still showed up to work and I still did my job. I did not slack. And so then you fast forward to November of 2019. I'm sitting in church and I get a text from my supervisor. We're going to call her Miss T. So I get a text from my supervisor, Miss T, and she was like, call me when you get a chance. And I was like, is it an emergency? And she was like, no. I was like, okay, I'm in church. I'll call you when I get out. She was like, okay, cool. Ended up completely forgetting, rushing, trying to get from service back home for work and all that kind of stuff. So it completely slipped my mind. I'm working. It's Sunday night. She texts me like, good thing I wasn't dying because you never did call. And I was like, oh, snap, I forgot. So I immediately go to call her. And she was telling me that she was like, I hate to make it seem so urgent, but there was a position that I had heard about that I feel like you would be great for. And she was like, I know they're trying to hire quickly. That's why I kind of been like wanting to get in touch with you to talk about it. And I was like, okay. And so she told me what she knew about it and da 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 da. And she was like, this is the name of it. If you're interested, you can go online to apply. I was like, okay. I said, I think I will. She was like, okay, so if you go ahead and apply, just text me when, I don't care how late it is. She was like, I would encourage you to get it done tonight if you're going to apply. And so I was like, okay. So she was like, I don't care how late it is. I know you're working. So, because at that time I worked what we titled second shift, so the 3 to 11 shift. And so she was like, I know, you're working tonight. So whenever you get it done, I don't care how late it is, just text me and let me know that you got it done, because I have somebody that's there that is going to vouch for you. I was like, okay. So I get home, I pull it up, I apply, I pray, I give it to God, right? Go to sleep, wake up to a phone call from Miss T at like 9 o'clock in the morning. Like, how fast can you get to the building across from the shelter? I said, give me about 30 minutes or so. Hopped up, took a shower, got dressed, went over there. And there was a lady we're going to call her T. So you have Miss T, which is my supervisor, and you have T. So then T is the connection that Miss T had to the job that was like, hey, I'm going to vouch for you. I'm going to introduce you to the supervisor that will be over this role. Da, da, da. So I meet Miss A. We sit down, we talk. It does not feel like an interview. Like, yes, I have like a bit of nerves, but like it doesn't feel like an interview. It feels like two people just chatting. Like, we're getting to know each other, casual conversation. It feels very lighthearted. It feels very easy. And so we get to the point in the conversation where she asks, what is my degree in? And I tell her it's in criminal justice. And she kind of goes like, ooh, and I explain, I say, hey, I know oftentimes when people think of criminal justice, their mind automatically goes to law enforcement. However, criminal justice is such a wide field, and it encompasses so many different social sciences that people don't even really realize. And I break that down to her. And she literally told me, she said, I'm not even gonna lie to you. The moment you told me your degree was in criminal justice, I wrote you off. She was like, oh, okay, she's not it. And she was like, because of how you explained it, like nobody's ever broke it down like that. And she was like, there were other applicants who had a criminal justice degree. And she's like, I couldn't understand why everybody I was applying had criminal justice degrees. And she was like, I've been writing them off. And because of how you explained it, it gives me like a bit of confidence. And so we talked, and she tells me that, she is, because it's like, I want to say it was like the week of Thanksgiving or so. So she tells me how, she's going to be traveling for the holidays. So we're going to talk again in like 2 weeks. So we look at the calendar. It was December 4th and was going to be the date. So that was the date we had to say we're going to talk again. So fast forward to December 4th of 2019. I don't get a call. I haven't get a call. I haven't seen the email. I haven't heard anything. And so I'm like, okay, what do I do? So I'm like, okay, I have to work. So I'm going to leave a little early. So before I go into work, I'm just going to stop by and see if I can speak with her, see if she's there. I go in to speak with her on December 4th, and they told me that she was out. They said she's supposed to return on this day. You can come back on this day. So I come back on December 8th. They told me it was December 8th. So I come back on December 8th. And I was like, yeah, we were supposed to talk. But then they told me that you were out. And so I just wanted to see if we had any updates. And so we talked, and she said, I want to hire you. The position is yours. And I was like, okay. And she was like, do you still want it? Do you still have a desire for it? I said, yes. And she was like, okay, so this is what you would need to do. She was like, you would need to go to your supervisor. And so to make it make sense, so we're going to introduce Mr. S, right? So this is Mr. S was the one who had the counseling position that moved up to the supervisor that made his spot vacant. So now he's my direct supervisor, and then Miss T is like his second in command, right? So just to make it make sense. And so she was like, you need to go to Mr. S and you need to let him know, like, I'm giving you the job, I'm offering you the job, but these are going to be your requirements, right? That I could not start in the middle of a pay period, so I had to wait till the pay period was complete to go ahead and start. And that I would not be able to transition over until my position at the residential facility was filled. And if I'm honest, that was very disheartening because I knew that that was not going to be an easy feat. And I knew, even when she said it, there is no guarantee to how long that is going to take. Like, it was not easy to get staff in, like, to get people hired. Like, during the application process and interviewing process, people fall off. The background screening, people fall off. And then even if they do make it through all of those hurdles, they'll get into the job and then realize, like, this is not what they really want to do, or it doesn't actually really pay enough for all that it entails. And so I knew that that was not going to be an easy feat. So I was a little discouraged. I took it to him and I told him, hey, this is what she said. She wants to hire me. She's offering me the job, but these are my requirements. He was like, okay, I'm going to talk to her, because he's like, I can't guarantee when we're going to have someone to be able to fill your position. Like, I don't even know realistically. I can't even give a timeline or a time frame as to what that would even look like. And so he was like, I don't want it you getting held up because we're waiting on it. So he says he talks with her and she's adamant, no, I'm not going to accept her until her position is filled. So keep in mind, this is happening of December of 2019. I did not start the new position until February 10th of 2020. And you might be like, Marissa, why are you sharing all of this? God had to remind me of this story today, because I literally, this past week especially, I've been actively like, okay, God, how much longer do I have to wait? Like, there are some things that I've been pulling on heaven for, and I'm getting a little tired, in the waiting season. And I'm just like, God, when is it going to happen? When are these things going to happen? And he reminded me of this and saying just how you had to wait. You had the promise, you had the yes, but you still had to wait a period of time before the promise was fulfilled. And let that be your encouragement. It may be 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, 20 years before the promise is fulfilled. And I know that can be disheartening and that can be very discouraging, but understand that God is there, that he is working on your behalf, that he has your best interest at heart. Like, God is thinking of you. He is considering you. He has you in mind, and he is working on your behalf. And one of the things that I had to realize, even in that, I had a position waiting for me with my name on it, already ready for me, already offered to me. And I still had to wait. And even while I was waiting, I had to work. I didn't stop showing up to work. I didn't stop giving it 110%. Even though I knew there was something else on the other side waiting for me, I still had to show up to work. I still had to do my job and do my job in excellence. And I know that it can be discouraging. It can be disheartening, but stay in the race. Hold on. Work while you wait. Work while you wait. And at the end of the day, like, you still have to work in your waiting season. It's not time to just sit down and to relax and to twiddle your thumbs. And another thing, even while you're waiting, make sure that you're not just holding on to the promise and not recognizing that there are instructions attached to the promise. Like, my pastor talked about this probably about a couple weeks back, where it's like, we'll get a word from God and we'll hold on to that word, and we don't listen for anything else that follows after that word. But God is still speaking. And that the fulfillment of the promise can have instructions attached to it. Like, there are still things that you have to do and things that God is looking for you to do in that time, in that time period, in that season. And if you're just sitting there twiddling your thumbs or not trying to hear or heed the voice of the Lord to see, okay, God, what is it that I'm missing? How can I work this wait, right? How can I be beneficial and effective in my waiting period? What is it that I need to do? That's where we need to be. God, what are you needing of me? Making sure that you're checking yourself and you're checking within yourself to say, am I even in a position where I will handle this well? If God gave me this thing, that house, that car, that man, that woman, that child, this opportunity, this amount of money, if God gave it to me right now, will I be able to steward it well, or will I throw it all away? Right? Am I going to be able to handle it well, or I'm going to mishandle it? And we have to be honest with ourselves to be able to identify where we are. And it's like, no matter how much the promises are and how much we want it, sometimes we have to ask ourselves, am I worthy? Am I deserving? And not in the please receive me, not in this, oh, I don't deserve anything good. No. Am I in a position to where I can handle this well? Or am I going to throw it away? And I think that we have to ask ourselves that. There have been some things where I'm like, God, I'm glad you didn't give me what I was asking for during the time that I was asking for it, because I would not have handled it well. I would have thrown it away. I would have destroyed it. I would have done it a disservice. I wouldn't have celebrated it. I wouldn't have cherished it. I wouldn't have appreciated it. I wouldn't have handled it with care the way I thought I would have. And I'm grateful for it. We think about the children of Israel and we know that they had a promise, but they still had to wait 40 years. And there were people that the promise was given to that they did not see it. They didn't see the fulfillment of the promise because they died in the waiting season. And so I know that this can be disheartening, but be encouraged, because above all else, another thing that I learned from this entire experience was remain humble. Remain a woman of character. Remain a person of integrity. Because one of the things that Mr. S told me when I was in the process of like applying for the position and things, he was like, how he got a call and they asked about like me and my work ethic and whether or not he can actually recommend me for the job. And he told them yes. And when we had a conversation about it, he told me what had transpired. And he said, the reason that I could vouch for you and that I felt comfortable and confident in recommending you for the position was because I watched you. He said that I watched how you responded to a no with character and with integrity. You still showed up to work every single day and you gave it 110%. You didn't slack. Your attitude didn't change. You didn't start getting lazy. You remained the same Marissa that you have always been, and you showed up. And he said, you told me that when it came up in the interview, how would you respond if you don't get the job? And I'm like, I'm a team player. The same way that I supported him when he was in that position, the same way that I'm going to support anyone in that position. And he's like, I saw it. He's like, you weren't just talking to talk because it sound good. I watched you literally walk out that thing. And that is it. And I'm like, even in that, God had to challenge me to say, okay, you said that this is the person you're going to be. Okay, let me see you be that person. Let me see you be that person. Show up and still be a team player and still do your job and still not slack and still serve and still do ministry and still do your job in excellence as though you had gotten a yes. And even in that disappointment stage, can you still show up? Even when things are not going the way that you want them to go, can you still show up? Even when you are grieving, can you still show up? Even when you are losing on what seems like every side, and if it ain't one thing, it's another. Can you still show up? Can you still serve in excellence? Can you still be a person of integrity, a person with good character? Hear me when I say, and I'm not saying this to brag on me by any means. I'm saying this because it's the goodness of God and the positions that he's put me in. You have to live a life where your name and your reputation can speak for itself. Because once that happens, your name can be in rooms that you are not even in. Opportunities will be given to you and thrown at you that you didn't even know existed. Like, I cannot stress to you, I did not know this position existed until my supervisor, Miss T, even told me, hey, I heard about this job. And here's the thing. What was a yes for me was a no for somebody else. And that's not always the easiest thing to navigate and to deal with. I did not know this position existed. I didn't know this program existed. But here is God showing forth his goodness. Honestly, showing forth his goodness to be like, here. You've been praying. Because for months, I have been praying, God, I feel transition. I feel transition happening. I don't know what that means. I don't know what's to come. But I knew that I was in a place, I'm like, okay, God, I need a more stable job. A more like 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Not even 9 to 5, but Monday through Friday kind of job. Where it was like, I have my Sundays off. Because I would find myself being in church and I'm not even able to physically be present. Even though I'm here, I'm not mentally and emotionally present and spiritually present in this space because I'm watching the clock. Like, all right, come on. Y'all moving along. Okay, preacher, cut the word short because I need to get on the road and get back to work. I got to get to work. And there was transitioning happening in my family, and I wanted to be able to show up for my family a bit more, and my job would not fully allow me to do that. And so I had been praying for months and months and months, and I felt transition for a period of time, and it finally happened, and I was able to be a bit more present. And the reason I say a bit more present is because there still was a difficulty and a barrier because then COVID hit. So now the world is shut down. And the life as we know it is completely turned upside down. And so it's like God is moving. And T, never having met me, like we had been in the same room, but we had never really met for real, was willing to vouch for me on the simple fact that Miss T vouched for me. And when I took the position, I had the position, I actually started in February 10th of 2020. That's when I started. She took me under her wing. She trained me. She showed me the ropes. And unfortunately, later that year, she passed away. And I remember saying, God, thank you. Thank you for her life. Thank you. Ooh, trying not to get emotional. But thank you for her life. Thank you for her willingness to be a vessel and you using her to create an opportunity for me. And I appreciated the simple fact that someone was willing to vouch for me on somebody else's word. Like, there's nothing like that. There is nothing more beautiful. You don't know me. You don't know my character. But because of the relationship you have with her, you were willing to vouch for me. And I'm grateful. And I have to highlight this because I've heard so many Black women, especially young Black women, talk about the negative experiences that they've had with Black women as supervisors. And in my career thus far, I've had 4 Black women supervisors. And I've only had a negative experience with 1. And even still, God turned that around. To make it end on a positive note. But I'm like, I've had Black women as supervisors show up for me, vouch for me, like willing to push me constantly. Because it's easy to get comfortable and it's easy to get complacent and to have supervisors like, no, Marissa, there's more for you. Go be great. Don't settle here. And I'm grateful because I was in the new position one, when COVID hit, so it allowed me the opportunity to work remotely and not have to actively be in the midst of all the COVID stuff and the uncertainty of COVID that was going on at that time. And also, I was still in that position when my father passed. And when my father passed, one of the first calls that I made was to Miss A. And in that entire period, she helped me. She poured into me. She covered me. She loved on me. She checked in with me. And me as a person. Like, not just my job. Not just, okay, how's your cases going? But how are you as a person? She was aware. She had a finger on the pulse every time something seems off, and checking in. What do you need? Do you need time off? How can I help? How can I support? Like, that was my experience. And so I'm just like, God is moving. God is working on our behalf. And I understand that the waiting season can get tiresome. I understand that it can get frustrating. And depending on what you're waiting on, it can get lonely and hard. But be encouraged that God is still God. And He is still on the throne. And He is still working on your behalf. Even when it may not seem like it. And even though it may be taking 2 weeks, 2 years, 20 years, 15 days, 11 months. Be encouraged that God will show up, that God cares. The Bible tells us to cast our cares upon Him because He cares for us. And I'm like, that tells me that everything that I care about, He cares about. And when God tells me that He got me, He got me. Don't be anxious for tomorrow will take care of itself. Like, He is that good of a Father. And be encouraged in your waiting season that God got you. You are taken care of. Work your wait. Even while you're waiting, be careful to not compare. And because comparison is a thief of joy. And oftentimes we're on social media and it's like, we'll hear, watch while you wait. But sometimes you have to be mindful of what you're watching. You have to be mindful of, maybe you have to step away from social media in a season because you're seeing too many people get married and engaged, and you're seeing too many people have babies, and you're seeing too many people with graduating, or I know we're in graduation season. You're seeing too many people celebrate. We're going into Mother's Day and then soon Father's Day, and you're seeing too many people celebrate their loved ones, and you're wondering if these things are ever going to happen for you. Anniversaries and birthdays and holidays and all of these things. And sometimes we have to step away because we are not watching and being mindful of what we're watching. Right? We're just consuming and taking things in. And then you're struggling and you're wondering why is the waiting season getting just that much harder? Because you want to get married and you're watching everybody get engaged and get married and have these beautiful weddings or eloping or whatever the case may be. You want to have a baby and you're watching people walk around pregnant and getting pregnant and their gender reveals and all these things. And you're wondering, when is it going to happen for you? But be encouraged that what God has for you is for you. Your yes, your promise is on the way. So be encouraged. Be encouraged. Like, this was a word that God reminded me of even within myself. Like, this is me pulling from my own life experiences. But God is even telling me, Marissa, trust me in the wait. Work the wait. Watch while you wait, but be mindful in what you're watching. Follow the instructions. Pour into yourself in this time so that when the promise is fulfilled, you can ensure that you will be a great steward of that promise. Become the very best version of yourself. And you're human. Like, hear me. You're allowed to be sad or disappointed or upset or hurt. It's okay. But don't stay in that place too long. You can't allow yourself to stay in that place too long, because if you do, then the devil will try to take over your mind. He'll start to try to feed you these narratives. I'm gonna be a good parent. That's why you can't have any kids. Yeah. Oh, what happened to that promise? You're going to be a mother. Yeah, he lied to you. The devil will try to trick you. And so you can't stay in that place too long. But allow yourself to feel whatever it is that you need to feel. I truly hope that this word encouraged you. I pray that it encourages you to keep going on in your waiting season. Don't be distracted. And this time, focus on God. Give God your attention. Give God your time. Give God your service. And work the wait. Watch while you wait. And worship in the wait. Until next time, know that I love you. God loves you. And remember to always, and I mean always, love you too. Until next time.